got a new series with Jordan Matthew, Kathy Susie's kids. I've had this idea for a while where I want to just go out and randomly have conversations at a bar, places, local people, not really long format. And this is the first kick of it. It's Mr. Lewis. He's an 87-year-old civil engineer. I want you to take into consideration this guy is 87 years old and he's full of life. If you've ever met Mr. Lewis, you know what I'm talking about. I hope you enjoy this. And if you do, please follow and subscribe to all our platforms. This episode is sponsored by Golden Gulf Insurance Services. It's an insurance company that me and my co-hosts own in Biloxi, Mississippi. If you're looking for a home, auto, life, health, commercial, we have you covered. We're right there on Howard Avenue. But I honestly want you to enjoy this conversation because the moment I met Mr. Lewis, I was blown away by his stories. And this is just a little dive, and this is chapter 1. But I'm pretty sure you'll be inspired. And if you know people that have that type of story, reach out to us, let us know, send us a comment, email us. You can email us at jordanandmatt@gmail.com. We'd like to hear from you. But anyways, we're going to get right into the show. We love you. And thank you so much, Fly Llama, for letting us have our first interview at your spot. And guys, give us some feedback. Take care. Been a civil engineer for Biloxi for many years.
Since the early 60s.
Early 60s?
Graduated from the Ole Miss 63 and worked a couple years and then came back to Biloxi. Married a girl from Biloxi. She brought me home.
Do you remember that was first date?
It was in a bar in New Orleans, and she took me home. She had a car. I didn't.
What kind of car was it? Do you remember?
I do remember. It was a Volvo 544 sports car. I loved the car and her.
Well, toast is beer. So me and you, I met you coming to Fly Llama. We're here right now, guys. This is the Noise. They have a Shuckers game. Fly Llama Brewing in Biloxi, Mississippi. We're here. We're at the bar right now. You're gonna see so many people walk by us. Kind of feel like commentators a little bit.
Yeah, well, the sun's shining behind us, and it's a great day in Biloxi.
It is. What are you from Biloxi?
I was originally born in California. My daddy was in the Navy, and we traveled all over the country after the war. And his last duty station happened to be in New Orleans. And I went there and went to Tulane for a year and then went into service for 4 years. And all my friends and the other places that we'd been were either married, gone, or so I ended up coming back to New Orleans and worked in the oil field for about 6 months and decided that was too much work for me. I had to go back to school.
No, like when you say oil field, are you talking out offshore or inshore oil?
I worked for an oil field supply company that we delivered products and stuff to all the drill rigs and stuff, offshore, onshore, and wherever they wanted it. We were there.
Do you remember what you started out at? Like your pay? You remember the pay?
I think we're about $300 a month.
$300 a month? What year was this?
It was in New Orleans.
Wait, what year?
In the late 50s.
Okay, $300 a month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had expense accounts and everything. Wherever we went, they paid for our meals and stuff, and our gas and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't that we were coming out of our pocket every day for food and stuff, but it was easy living back in New Orleans in the late 60s. I mean, late 50s, early 60s.
let's say how much was gas back then?
Probably, it was right at $1.
I mean, okay, when I started driving, let's say I'm 36, so I started driving 16, 20 years ago. It was about $1.20.
Yeah, well, it didn't getting real. I mean, gasoline wasn't that expensive until the late. Remember when we had an area where you could not buy gas because they didn't have any gas, and you were rationed sort of like on a daily basis. I mean, if your tag ended in a 5, you got it on one day. If it ended in a 4, you got it another day. So you could only get gas during those days. That was in the lates.
What kind of shit is that?
Well, that was the way they were rationing gas in the day. This was after the war and everything, but this was late 50s, early 60s in New Orleans.
Was New Orleans what it is now? Was Bourbon Street popping as it is now?
Yes, it was, and that's probably why I ended up in the Navy.
You went out a lot?
Well, Tulane wanted me to study, and it was hard.
You couldn't get any studying done.
Well, that's what happened. And my daddy said, well, son, you either get a job or go into the service. And it looked like the service was the easiest one to me.
So you went off, and was it full pay college for you? When you went to the service though, did they have like benefits to go to college?
Oh hell no! This was between wars. Nobody shot at me, so I didn't deserve all that.
So there was, I mean, you had like some military retirement or anything like?
I had 4 years in the Navy, but it was between Korea and Vietnam. And not Vietnam, I'm sorry. Yeah, between Korea and Vietnam, and with the 4 years in there that I didn't have to shoot anybody and nobody shot at me.
You got lucky then.
Huh?
You got lucky then.
Well, I did, and then when I had joined the Navy in the reserves and requested active duty, and at the end of the active duty, I was required to serve about 4 more years. But after I got out of the Navy and I got married, had children, I was disqualified. They didn't want me anymore. Thank goodness.
How did you get disqualified?
Well, because I had a wife and children.
Gotta pull this a little more like this way. There you go. Wife and that's why you get disqualified?
Well, from the reserves, not from the draft or anything.
Go like this. Okay. I'm just checking to make sure the sound's good because we got a lot of noise back here, guys. We're making sure you're gonna have good sound today.
Well, that's about the size of it. When you join the reserves, when I did when it was 1955, you had a choice of requesting active duty or just being in the reserve. Well, I requested active duty, and that gave me a chance to serve 3 years. But in the meantime, they had some kind of a war over in off the Mediterranean and everything, and they kept us for another year. So I had 4 years in the reserves, and then I was supposed to do another 3 years in active reserve. But when I got married and had children, that was all over with. And then I didn't have to I didn't have to do the Vietnam thing. By that time, I'd gone to college. I finished college in '63 before all the fireworks started over there. And I had a BS and MS and Master's in structural engineering. So,
What made you pick engineering?
when I first started school back in the 50s, one of my professors was an engineer, and he said, "You'll never get rich at it, but it's a good profession." So that's what I picked.
Man, that's and now, like when I first met you, and guys, this is something that I was fascinated about Lewis. Like Lewis has been a civil engineer before all this technology. Mr. Lewis is 87 years old, and he can outdrink you today. Okay, shout out to that. Cheers to that.
No, well, when we
got cheers to that.
when we got out of school, we had to do everything with India ink and Mylar paper and everything. And now you just talk to the computer and it does it for you.
Computers wasn't. I mean, when did computers start getting involved into the engineering world?
Well, I did my master's thesis on a computer with punch cards and an IBM 1620, and
You remember the year?
it was 1962.
They had computers?
Oh yeah, they had computers a long time before they let anybody know about it. That's my opinion. I mean, my school had, and people know punch cards. Everything you wanted a computer to know, you put it on a punch card, and it read the punch cards just like it reads a disc nowadays. It read the card at that time for everything you wanted to do. You put a punch card in, and it did that thing, and then you had to do another punch card to do something else.
So it was multiple steps.
Mostly. My biggest job was, when I got out of school, was designing the interchange in Slidell for I-12, I-10, and I-55 coming out of Slidell. And if you've ever been there and you think about it, that's a lot of punch cards.
To build an interstate.
That was when they were building the interstate.
So
in the
all
early
that was
60s.
done on a computer.
That was the way we did computers back then.
Oh, shit. Did you ever, did it take a lot of time to adapt to the change of, every what, decade?
Well, you as it materialized, you got to know what was the next step, and you kind of learned it as you went. When I quit in the late, I finally quit in 2005, but during that 20-year period, there was a lot of changes in the way you did engineering.
Good or bad?
All for the good. But one of the things that so far, as I know, nothing I ever did hurt anybody or killed anybody.
Let's go. So you've been in engineering for 40 years with the city of Biloxi. Let's get into
I was only the engineer for the city of Biloxi for 10 years.
How many years? 10?
For 10 years.
10 years?
I had my own practice during the other times I was working.
Okay. Did you enjoy living on this coastal area though?
Well, when I retired, when I got out of the service, it was like there wasn't all the people that I knew.
Somebody's about to street fight.
In the
Now we're people watching.
Anyway, actually, well, since 1960 to now, which is, 80 years? 70 years. I haven't known anything else. 60 to 40, 20, 60 years.
60 years.
No, 60, 40, and 20 is 60 years. All right, 63 years.
That's a lot.
I don't have a computer with me.
You do, it's in your pocket. I called you on it earlier.
I got one.
When you
This piece of equipment would equal 40 people and at least 50 machines in 1960.
That's facts. So let's go back to what was the pickup line you dropped on your wife? You remember the pickup line you used? What was the pickup line?
I like you better than my date.
Damn. So you were on a date?
I was on a date when I met her.
Oh my God. Was it like a first time date or like a steady date?
It was a run-in date.
So you're on a date with another girl and then you got to meet your wife.
Exactly. In New Orleans in a bar in 1959. And then we decided she was going to Tulane, getting a master's degree in philosophy and journalism. She had graduated from Ohio State a year before, and I'm just getting started back in engineering in school at night school, and we met in this bar in New Orleans, and it was I got her phone number then, and I don't think I ever met that. I've never dated that other girl.
How old were you?
How old am I now?
No, not now. How old were you then when you met her?
About 24 years old.
And when you got her phone number, back then they didn't have mobile phones.
Right.
So or answer machines. Did they have answer machines?
No, I didn't. We didn't. We kind of made the date that night.
Really? You made that. So when you met her, you made a date that night.
Yeah.
Do you remember the second date? Do you remember?
There's while we were in New Orleans until we got married about 6 months later by the bartender who happened to be the justice of the peace, we think, and we got married in his house, and I had to put my drink down.
That's
that
awesome.
is the truth.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I ain't gonna lie to you. So New Orleans though, New Orleans was the spot.
Well, back in the day when I lived over there, I lived in a boarding house. I paid, I think, $40 a month, and they packed me a lunch when I left. In other words, when I leave in the morning, she had a lunch packed for me. And that was part of what I paid her to live in her house. 1 bedroom.
I want somebody to pack my house. Thank you, Mallory. Shout out to Mallory. Mallory,
Anyway.
that's awesome. Say hey, Mallory. Mallory, say hey. Okay.
Hey, Mallory.
Hey, y'all.
And Mallory also is neighbors with Mr. Lewis. So, small world.
She's my star tenant.
Oh, for sure. I mean, she's herself. Wouldn't happen any other way.
That's right. And her dog wakes me up in the morning barking.
What's wrong with the dog?
It barks.
Is it a Chihuahua?
No, about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, she lets it out and it barks. I don't know what it barks at, the squirrels, the birds, or what, but it barks.
How big's that dog?
Ain't very big.
Little dogs always bark. Let me tell you something.
A yappy dog.
Little dogs always bark. I don't know why. My husky just passed away a few years ago. My dog was massive, furry monster. Would never bark. Even little dogs barking at him, he'd just look at him and go. But when you get a little dog, something about little dogs. It's constant too. It's nonstop.
All right, let me fill in the rest of my life story and I'm finished with this thing. After we moved back to Biloxi, I worked and had my own company. We did a lot of engineering projects along the coast, Diamond Head, and several of them had several partners, raised 3 kids. All of them went to Biloxi High. 2 of them went to LSU, and they always quizzed me about why I went to Ole Miss. I said, I went to Ole Miss so I could send you to LSU. So anyway,
we're gonna end that on this, guys, because this is not over with. There will be a part 2 of Mr. Lewis. This is a
good evening.
Conversation at a bar. Kathy and Susan's kids, we love you. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Only had 2 beers.
You've had 5. I've had 6.
Only had 2 beers at this bar.
You should have more beers. All right, guys, we love you. Thank you so much.